Now, there's going to be a range of issues that are going to come up when it does come to this election. We covered off on agriculture and the impact to the farmers of everything that we have been seeing around the world. But the key one of the main ones, is the cost of living, particularly for households that have been incredibly hard hit by inflation, and also housing affordability. Here's a little bit of a preview of what to expect coming up throughout the course of this final week of campaigning. Listen in.
Australia heading to the polls this week to decide on the next leader, with Prime Minister Scott Morrison and his coalition government facing an uphill task to stay in power. The latest Newspoll opinion poll is showing a significant hill to climb for the current leader, with the opposition Labor Party holding a firm two-party preferred lead, and opposition leader Anthony Albanese only slightly trailing Morrison as the nation's preferred Prime Minister. All the while, independent climate candidates taking aim at coalition stronghold seats, putting the government's stance on climate goals and net zero on notice. Even current Treasurer Josh Frydenberg at risk of losing his place in Parliament. And now, with the last week of campaigning in full swing, the Prime Minister announcing a significant policy pledge for first home buyers, allowing access of up to $50,000 of their superannuation nest egg towards a deposit on a new home to combat the housing affordability crisis.
Superannuation is there to help Australians in their retirement. The evidence shows that the best thing we can do to help Australians achieve financial security in their retirement is to help them own their own home.
Some suggesting too little, too late from a government maligned by issues during the pandemic, while others believe the move will only cause the already hot housing market to overheat. But for the government scrambling to shore up votes, it could be the boost they need for another miracle victory after snatching the election from the claws of defeat back in 2019. Come Saturday, Australia will decide.
And it is really interesting when you think about the housing affordability issue, because following on from Scott Morrison making that announcement, we had a different poll, a Resolve poll that was commissioned by the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age that suggests that the race might be a little bit closer than was expected. And you think about it, Mandy, when you see the inflation numbers or the wage price inflation numbers that we did get coming through today, basically showing that inflation is far outpacing wages growth. It's absolutely stagnant. It's going to be an interesting choice that the voters are going to have to make. Scott Morrison, who is really focused on the economy and trying to drive his jobs and growth agenda, or Anthony Albanese, who could be a fresh start for a lot of people that are currently struggling.
You're absolutely right, Will, and we saw with that wage price index up 2.4%. I mean, you might say 2.4%, well, that's better than we've been having in recent years, where we just couldn't seem to engender any kind of wage price growth. But the cruel irony is that's, of course, with the backdrop of a Q1 CPI, which came in at 5.1%. So a lot higher, obviously, than the wage price growth, which did disappoint. And also, you know, we always hear about labour shortages at the moment because, of course, you know, the borders have been closed during COVID. And people say that as a result of the labour shortages, it's an employees' market, you know, that they can ask for raises. But even with all of that, we still only managed to get a 2.4% growth number on wages. So, you know, I think the government is going to have to do a lot of shoveling, whether it's this government or whatever new government comes in. Are going to have to do a lot of shoveling to try and help people with the cost of living, because it's really hurting.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and especially when you think that the private sector really did drive a lot of the wages growth upside that we saw as well. And when you think about the fact that throughout the course of perhaps even the start of this week or last week, you had Anthony Albanese, the opposition leader, for those who don't know as of yet, basically suggesting he wants to see a 5.1% increase on the minimum wage to try and help out all these low-income people. But then Scott Morrison sort of tried to fight back at that, and now he's had to walk that back a little bit, saying that he also wants incremental wage increases for the people that are doing it tough. And especially in a city like this that I'm in right now, Mandy, if you can call it a city, it's more of a town with 4,000 people. These are the kind of issues that they're currently facing. These are the kind of things that the people in these kinds of towns, these smaller rural towns, that when people don't necessarily know, that perhaps are watching overseas, that it's a parliament that's built up by the 151 seats. It's not just what happens in Sydney, not just what happens in Brisbane, not just what happens in Melbourne. So it's going to be how all of these people vote across the nation. And you know all too well, Mandy, a lot of people that are outside of the cities are struggling a lot more than the people that are inside the cities.
Yep. Yeah, and a word on what you're saying about, proposals to try and increase wages. It's always a fine line, isn't it? It's a balance to get absolutely right, because on the one hand, yes, higher wages might put more money in the pockets of employees, but it's not going to help those employees if the small business that they were employed by can't afford to keep them on anymore. And like if you're a small mum and dad, say a local shop, and you're having to pay more for your employees and you just can't cover those costs, you might either not hire or you might have to let some people go. So where's the Goldilocks balance where you're helping increase wages, but you're also not killing off that demand for labour? It's a very difficult line for the government to walk.